Hey everyone,
Hi.
It is time for Viva Physical Media, episode 54. I am Emily, this is
Matt.
and we're here to talk about movies, talk about Scarecrow. We're sitting here in the best of 2022 section. We kind of highlighted it last time, but we kind of forgot to, so let's just kind of give it a shout out again. Here's a bunch of stuff that all of the people who work here voted on as being the best physical releases of 2022. There's lots of good stuff back here. If you are around the store, come check it out. What's
Have
up?
you been? Nothing's really up with me.
Yeah.
Been watching a lot of movies for this, been watching movies for suspense.
Oh yeah, we've been watching some stuff.
Saw
for
the new
suspense.
Shyamalan movie. That was enjoyable.
Was it good?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I liked
Fun.
it. Kevin and I both liked it. We
Okay.
thought it seems like we were in the minority though. We'll find out.
I feel like that's usually the case
I like the book that it was based on.
when it comes to show.
A lot of people said that the reason that they hated the movie is because they changed the book.
We're gonna go see Titanic next week.
Yes.
Yes. for
1
the
week from
25th.
tonight.
What? This time next week.
We'll be kings of the world right now in 1
We
week.
will be just running on the deck of that sinking
Emily,
fucking ship.
This is where we first met.
This is where we first met. Jack! Stupid Rose. All right, we could quote that
Oh, all the time.
all the time.
The last time I watched Titanic was with you.
Yeah.
We had a pizza party
You know who else we were with?
with Kev.
Hey, come on out.
Come on over here, buddy.
I was gonna wait and do a surprise when I was on.
Back from the dead for revenge.
Hi.
It's Kevin.
He's here.
I'm back. I'll be on again later, but I'm gonna let these guys keep doing the intro. You're doing great.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin. Any Scarecrow news that we should talk about?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Not right now.
Okay. All right, so my first movie of the day is going to be a zombie movie called The Night Eats the World. This movie came out in 2018. It's directed by Dominique Roche, I'm assuming, because it's a French film. Interestingly enough about this movie, they filmed it French language, but they also did takes in English so that they could release it internationally to a broader audience.
Okay.
So the French release hasn't been released in the US at all, so I watched the English language release, but it wasn't dubbed. It was weird because I was like, I thought this was a French movie, but it's...
Do they all wear berets and like striped shirts and stuff?
No, but you do see the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, there you go.
So you know it's true.
No, it's France.
We meet this guy named Sam. He's going to his ex-girlfriend's apartment because he needs to pick up some cassette tapes that he left there.
Just came to get my tapes and then I'll go.
Because he is a musician and he does stuff with tapes or whatever. And he goes there and he enters the apartment and it's like a raging house party. And he's like, well, you told me to come by and get these tapes. I didn't know you were going to be having a huge party with your like hot French new boyfriend and everything. So he's all pissed off. She keeps brushing him off. And then she's finally like, okay, the tapes are in the back room. Just go back there. I'll meet you in there in like 20 minutes. Like, just, read a book. Like, do something. I'll be there in like 20 minutes. I don't want you to leave. We need to talk. So he goes back there. And on his way back there, he gets like smacked in the head with like a Polaroid camera from like a drunk party guest. And his nose starts bleeding. And he goes back in the back room, finds his tapes. He sits down. And then he like kind of passes out. And when he wakes up, everyone's gone. The whole apartment complex is bloody. There's blood all over the walls and the floor. He looks outside and he sees zombies.
Oh, shit.
He is the only one left in the apartment complex, or that's what he thinks. And he just kind of has to come to terms with the fact that a zombie apocalypse happened when he was like locked in the back room. These zombies are fast, they're silent. So it adds to the weird, very quiet atmosphere of this movie because he is like the only character basically. And we just kind of see him go into survival mode. He has to like investigate all the other empty apartment units and like gather food and stuff, which I thought was really fun to watch. And then there was like a zombie family in one. He had to like put an X on the door so he knew not to go in there. He secured the apartment complex except for this old elderly zombie that was stuck in the elevator shaft that just kind of stayed there and looked at him, and so he talks to him like he's his friend. He names him Alfred.
Alfred, huh? I'm Sam.
He just kind of slowly, he makes music, he starts to lose his fucking mind. Until another person shows up at his house, and then they form a connection, and what that is and what that isn't is kind of how the film ends. So I thought it was really good. I'm not a big zombie movie person, but this was so mostly focused on the guy like surviving and being the last person and kind of just being within himself and figuring out. He kind of comes to terms with the fact that he's not going to leave this apartment complex, but then that also is another layer of like insanity because he's like, this is just the rest of my life. I'm going to run out of food and stuff like that. I thought it was really good, super atmospheric and cool. He's a super talented drummer. There's one point where the zombies are no longer in front of the apartment complex. And so to see how far away they are, he like opens the windows to the balcony and starts like drumming super loud to see how fast they come back.
Oh, okay.
And they like almost immediately like swarm and like start climbing over each other trying to get in front.
Man,
but yeah,
I would die if there were zombies.
I know,
would
me too.
I'm
Instantly.
Yeah, there's no way I'd make it.
Yeah. There's actually a part in it where he's ruminating about his family and he's like, my mom's not one to fight. And it's like a really sad scene where he's like, she's not going to step all over someone to survive, and that makes me sad. So there's like little moments like that. The cover says it's the most innovative zombie film since Shaun of the Dead, which I don't quite think is, I mean, that's a big swing, but it does do something a little different. So if you're interested, you should check out The Night Eats the World.
Dad is the norm now. I'm the one who's not normal.
Hey, Matt.
What?
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, man. So I've mentioned this movie like almost every episode in one way or another.
Well, let's not break the pattern now.
Yeah, so I'm going to finally talk about it. It is one of my all-time favorite films, 1939's Howard Hawks film, Only Angels Have Wings. Kevin mentioned The Empire Strikes Back earlier as a comfort food movie. That is definitely true. It is my favorite movie of all time. The one movie that this reminds me of more than anything else is The Empire Strikes Back.
Really?
Yes. Not because of any like actual similarities of plot or structure, but because the reason I love The Empire Strikes Back so much is because I think it is a perfect romantic adventure. And so is this. Cary Grant plays Jeff, who is this rough and tumble dude who runs a mail service in a Caribbean island. His whole job is to orchestrate these pilots who have to fly over a very dangerous mountain range in order to get the mail where it needs to go.
Hey, Joe, blimp your motor. All right, Joe, you're passing over the field.
Into this situation comes Jean Arthur, who's a singer showgirl who's traveling and sort of ends up stuck in this little town where Cary Grant has his mail service. And she meets all the various characters who are part of that and hang out in the little town. She sort of begins a tentative relationship with Cary Grant. Cary Grant's very macho, and he's like, I'm not an attached person to anything. I have to stay aloof all the time because anybody could go at any time, and what I do is so dangerous. And she's like trying to get him to open up.
Got a match?
Say, don't you ever have any?
No, don't believe in laying in the supply of anything. Thanks.
Matches, marbles, money, or women, huh?
That's right.
No looking ahead, no tomorrows, just today.
That's right.
But more than that, this is just a really fun, funny, suspenseful, and exciting sort of romantic tale about all these characters and just how they live their lives in this little town and how they negotiate the incredible danger of their jobs. It's a very Hawksian portrait of a community. It's also very Hawksy in that it's like sort of about these professionals who are good at a thing.
Good dialogue, too.
Yeah, and it's full of great dialogue. And Jean Arthur is one of my favorite actresses. She is tremendous in this. This might be my very favorite of her roles. She gets to do all kinds of different stuff. She gets to sing. She gets to be like tough. She gets to be the romantic lead.
Ask you for anything or get in your way or bother you, does he?
It drives me nuts.
There's also a really good subplot where, so Cary Grant has like a best buddy who works with him, the kid. And the kid is losing his eyesight, so he's not able to fly anymore. And so they need to get a new pilot. And this guy comes in to be the new pilot, and everybody's kind of like, who is he? We know him from somewhere. And it turns out that he has a history with the kid.
Hello, Kilgallen. Long time no see.
And that the guy's wife also has a history with Cary Grant.
And Jeff Cotter. Mrs. McPherson.
Mr. Carter.
And so they're all sort of colliding on this, like sort of pot-boiling situation where their relationships are all tangled. So yeah, perfect romantic adventure, great special effects, awesome black and white photography. It's just a tremendous movie.
I
I've
need to
watched
revisit this. It's been a long time for me.
This is an annual Christmas holiday movie for me, even though it has nothing to do with Christmas. And it also is like a very comforting movie. That's why it's like a holiday treat for me. I always sit down and watch it around Christmas time. It always makes me feel really good. I just watched it this past Christmas again, and man, I fell in love with it all over again. It's just wonderful. If you haven't seen it, you must. 1939 was one of the best years for movies. You got to see like all kinds of great stuff that's still popular to this day. I think this is the best movie in 1939. By far, one of my all-time favorites. Only Angels Have Wings.
Got a Criterion release and everything, so
Check it out.
check it out.
Boat doesn't stop at Santa Maria this trip. Why not?
They have no bananas.
They have no bananas.
Yes, they have no bananas.
Oh, shut up.
Kevin, it's time. It's
Oh.
time again.
Hi, I'm back again.
There he is.
Welcome back, me. It's weird to be in the hot seat again. How's it going?
It's going good.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm
How
good. I
have
guess
you
I was
been?
in earlier,
Been
so-
watching behind the scenes a little bit. You
have
got in
been.
on some mailbag.
Not bad, not bad. It's going well so far.
We're happy you're here.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm here. I don't know what happened to Matt, but I'll just take his seat for a minute. I'm going to talk about a couple. I came with a couple picks.
Okay.
Real quick. And the first one, there's a little bit of a preamble. I've mentioned before the 2 Lost episodes that may or may not ever come to light because
They're
the
worth
sound
a lot
quality
of
is really
money.
bad and it's like, ugh. The very first episode, one of the things that we were going to do on the episodes
Which is
was
still a good idea
was
that
do a-
maybe I should do it.
right, was do like a film, a challenge, you know, where we each a challenge, not a challenge, but like we pick a movie for the other person, one that we love that they maybe haven't seen. And we didn't end up doing that just because I think it was like easier to just pick movies that we like.
We were still getting in the groove of it, and then we kind of just like, whatever.
Yeah, my pick today is the one that Emily picked for me then, which is 1990's Mermaids. This is a movie that I don't think it's, I like it a lot. It's totally enjoyable. It's super fun. I don't love it. I feel like towards the end of the movie, they turn the drama up too much. I was like, because a lot of it's very light and sort of like fun, and then there's some pretty heavy melodrama towards the end before the very end. For the most part, it's a really fun movie with Winona Ryder as the daughter of Cher. And she has 2 daughters, Winona Ryder and Christina Ricci in her first movie, who's immediately great, like perfect.
She's so good when she runs around
Yeah.
with the jack-o'-lantern on her head.
It's awesome. It's from 1990, but it takes place in like the 50s or 60s or whatever. And Cher's like sort of this, she's more of a friend to her daughters than a mom. And their dad, you know, who knows where their dad is and stuff. And Winona Ryder's getting older, and she's like, I'm not really into that, you know, my mom's lifestyle. I don't like that.
Okay, how do I look?
Like a woman about to go forth in sin.
Oh, good, exactly the look I was hoping for.
And she's like really obsessed with Catholicism, even though they're technically like half Jewish or whatever.
Charlotte, we're Jewish.
So that's kind of the plot of the movie, is her kind of rebelling against, you know, her mom's free-spiritedness. And her mom makes this awful food all the time.
Fun Finger Foods is her main source book, and that's all the woman cooks. Anything more, she says, is too big a commitment.
She's like a terrible mom, you know, in the sense of like a traditional mom. But it's Cher, and she's just, as Cher almost always is in movies she's in, is just awesome.
It's not like you and your sister came with a book of instructions. You know, if I can help you, tell me. I'll give it my best shot, but That's all I can do.
And there's like young love with Winona Ryder and this like hunk, you know, and then betrayal and stuff. It also has one of the best performances by Bob Hoskins.
Such a good Bob Hoskins.
He's like so awesome in this movie. He's charming and funny. It's like the thing where you watch this movie and you go like, well, yeah, you know, I'd hit Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Of course.
I don't think that when I'm watching him as
When
Eddie
he
Valiant,
creates-
but in this movie, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah.
When he creates
What a
the
charming
room
guy.
for Christina Ricci.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, he
It's very
creates like this
sweet.
underwater room for Christina Ricci's
Yeah.
character, and it's just the most tender, sweet thing ever.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's all those things, and you know, again, it's a movie that I like. I didn't think was like great, but I like a lot of it. But the very last scene is, in my mind, one of the most perfect things ever put on film, and it's just it's right before the end credits, and it's all of the three leads, Cher and Winona Ryder and Christina Ricci, and all of them dancing and singing along to "If You Want to Be Happy," which is a great tune. You know, it's
a good soundtrack on this, too.
vaguely, or pretty like sexist lyrics or whatever. But it's also tongue in cheek. It's just them like dancing and singing. They're just hanging out, you know, preparing one of her terrible meals, putting bowls of Cheeto on the floor, and it's just pure joy. And so I don't know. So I was I heard that song in The Fabelmans the other day when I was watching that, and it reminded me of the ending of Mermaids, and I watched that again and was like, This is perfect. I love this. It's just like such a charming ending, especially because like I said, the drama before is a bit almost like, who is someone gonna die or whatever, and you're kind of like, this isn't the kind of movie.
Like very melodramatic.
This is not the kind of movie where a character dies. I hope. Otherwise, I hate it. And then it's like, oh, you know, whatever. Spoiler alert, it's not. But the ending where they're all dancing and singing and stuff is perfect. It's one of those moments in movies where it makes you want to cry.
Yeah.
But it's
really
very
good
happy.
movie.
Anyway, Mermaids. So I finally after all these episodes, 50 some episodes, and years later, finally talked about Mermaids.
Yay.
And it's gonna get on the program.
And if you haven't seen Mermaids yet, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Check it out.
Please, God, don't let me fall in love and want to do disgusting things.
My next pick is a documentary from 1982, and it's
yeah.
called 17.
Hey, quiet and sit down. Hey, guys.
So good. Recommended to us, because I watched it 2 years ago after it was recommended to us by our crud buddy Dan Gorman.
And that's how it got onto my watch list as well, and I finally got around to watching it.
It's so good.
It's so good. 1982, directed by Joel DeMott and Jeff Kreens. Don't know how to say their names, sorry. And it's part of a bigger series. Did you ever watch any of the other documentaries?
I didn't. I just watched this one. I didn't even realize.
It was part of a bigger series that all took place in this town of Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah.
And it was made for PBS broadcast. A lot of the other ones got broadcast. This one, they pulled it before it ever got broadcast because they thought it was too salacious and like
too raw,
too raw,
wow.
too real. Because
too real.
Teens.
Because this movie stopped being nice and started getting real.
This movie wasn't here to make friends.
No.
This movie, it basically just follows these kids in their senior year of high school in this small town in Indiana, and it's a very hands-off documentary. It's just. We're just watching these kids. And it's crazy because it's not like they even necessarily talk to the camera either. They're actually very naturalistic. You don't ever feel like they're playing it up for the camera either. It focuses on these kids. They show them in class. They show them, some of my favorite parts are in the home ec class where these girls are just so fucking bad at making pies and stuff, and they're just like swearing at their teacher. They're like, where's the fucking cookie tins? They're like, they're all stressed out.
Hey man, my arm's tired.
Miss Hartling don't know where the fucking cooling racks go.
The teacher's this old lady who's just like, you guys are gonna fail in life if you can't learn how to be ladies and gentlemen, blah, blah, blah.
Not only teaching you regional cookery, I am teaching you citizenship, how to be a good person, how to be honest, how to do your own work.
And then there's one scene later on where she like is hosting, I think, a detention, and she finds out one of the boys got one of the girls pregnant, and she's like, I didn't know that.
He tried. Oh, Robert! furious with you.
And I'm so disappointed at you. And he's like, I'm going to take care of it. So there's teen pregnancy that happens. You see these kids after school go into each other's houses and just smoking pot in the basement, listening to music of the time. It's so weird because I kept having to be like, this is a documentary. Because it's so rare to see documentary footage of kids this age from that time period.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I feel like every time I see this type of vibe, it's in a movie either from that time period or recreating that time period.
Right, yeah.
Because we're not used to seeing that kind of footage.
So everybody didn't have video cameras, and everybody didn't have phones to tape themselves all the time.
And then like real documentary footage you see is usually of like a big major event or whatever. And this is such a slice of life. We see basketball games, we see these girls using toilet paper and TPing the basketball boys' like houses and everything. But then it also on a much deeper level, it has all these issues of racism.
You guys ain't the ones that's getting the bad name. We are. We are. White girls just don't mess with no black guys.
Because they live in a neighborhood where there's a large black community as well. And some of these girls are dating black guys and their parents aren't like happy about it.
And most good black people, they don't want their kids marrying white people either. You know, it messes up their race.
But then also they have a bunch of internalized racism that they haven't really understood is not okay. There's an instance of one of the main girls who is dating on and off again this black guy named John. Someone like burns a cross in her parents' yard, and then her parents are like, you can't hang out with that guy again. There's all this like stuff that's like right under the surface bubbling up. It also ends with this 2-day-long kegger party, which at the beginning of it, we find out one of these guys' friends had been in a big car accident and was in a coma. And by the end of it, we find out that he's passed away. And this is like, we're watching this in real time. Like, not in real time, but we're watching this really happen to these kids. Yeah. And there's a super touching moment where they call the local radio DJ and request a Bob Seger song.
Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then.
To dedicate in memory of their friend who they just found out, they're all like shit-faced drunk, they just found out he had passed away at the hospital. And it's them just kind of sitting there like smoking cigarettes and listening to the song on the radio. And it's
very
like,
real.
So real and so sad. But it's also a really funny documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Their personalities are outrageous. It won the grand jury at Sundance in 1985, which is tight. It was super good. There's another funny part where this kid's like really drunk in the kitchen. They're trying to make food, and he's like talking to some people for a while, and then someone yells, and he turns around.
There's been a lot of beer bottles come.
I know, but goddamn it, I don't plan on letting the motherfucker.
The like stovetop's on fire. Like we just like see him almost catch the kitchen on fire. It's just really interesting. It's like 2 hours long. At first I was like, it could be shorter, but then after a while I was really kind of hypnotized just watching the lives of these real teens.
Yeah.
And I was just like, like my mom was probably like a couple of years older than these people when, during
Crazy
this time. So it was like weird to think about. The like style and everything it's just so 70s, 80s because it was that.
No.
I kept having to remind myself that it was a documentary.
Right.
It's super interesting. Definitely seek it out. I'm going to try to see if I could find any of the other ones if we have any.
Yeah,
of the other,
for
like,
real.
Middleton ones.
Cool.
Yeah. 17, we have it out on DVD, and I think it's also, I don't know if we have it, but it's also came out on a set with the other ones. So check it out.
Right on.
Don't tell me to shut up. You don't tell me to shut up until you're married to me.
So the next time I talk about...
Whoa. First, hold on. What am I doing over here? Who's this guy? Oh, it's Matt. Come on. You don't even like to have... You don't even like to have fun, do you?
Can I go?
This guy.
That's good. I'm glad you're here. All right, I'm going to talk about this movie now. This is an old favorite of mine, Zero Effect. I want to know about the mystery dance. Last episode I talked about a detective movie, sort of a detective movie that takes place in Portland and was shot in Portland called Cold Weather. That had me in mind of this other really, really great, definitely a detective movie that is also shot and takes place in Portland. Man, this has been a favorite movie of mine for going on 20 years now since it came out.
Movie.
More than that, really. So, this is sort of loosely based on a Sherlock Holmes story where he meets a woman. Sherlock meets a woman who's sort of his equal. Is that Scandal of Bohemia, right? Scandal of Bohemia. Anyway, Bill Pullman plays Daryl Zero, the world's greatest detective. This guy can solve any mystery without even leaving the house.
Which he doesn't because he's like...
He doesn't do because he's, in his regular life, a total basket case. Agoraphobic.
I'd have to go there?
Yep. I don't like it. Oh, fuck that. Completely antisocial.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Jesus! What? Would you stop it?
Mean.
Where the fuck have you been?
Just awful, not a nice person.
Fuck the whales.
And he sort of conducts his business with the outside world through his assistant intermediary, Ben Stiller.
He never meets any of his clients. He doesn't speak with them, or for that matter, communicate in any direct fashion. It's his policy. But I am his sole representative, and he is my only employer. And as such, I have full authorization to speak on his behalf on all his matters of business.
And this is like pre-Ben Stiller being like super famous, you know?
It was when he was just like popping up in indie stuff, and he was like, after the Ben Stiller show, obviously.
Yeah. Ben Stiller hates his guts and wants to leave Daryl Zero's employ.
I mean, he's like some kind of recluse. Complete freak. No social life. In fact, no social skills.
In the meanwhile, they take on a case that sends them to Portland. Ryan O'Neal has hired Daryl Zero to find his missing keys. This leads to a whole story of blackmail and murder and buried pasts and mysterious paternity. And along the way, they meet a young woman, a paramedic.
Are you a paramedic?
Yes. How did you know that?
Just a hunch.
That is clearly involved in this mystery somehow, and with whom Daryl Zero is totally entranced, played by the great Kim Dickens, one of my favorite actresses.
Our girl Kim Dickens.
Yes, Kim Dickens from Treme. If you haven't watched it, she's also on Deadwood. She's on Lost. She's on one of those Walking Dead spinoffs that I haven't watched. But anyway,
Kim Dickens.
Big fan of Kim Dickens. This is the first time I ever saw her
me
in
too.
anything.
Yeah.
This is also right around the time she was in Hollow Man too. But,
right. Yeah, not a good movie.
Not a good movie, but well, not a terrible movie either. But anyway,
well, you know, it's all right.
Anyway, she and Daryl Zero sort of strike up a relationship as he becomes like further and further aware that she's involved in this mystery somehow. It sort of segues out of being a mystery and into more of a romantic thriller, and it's more about their sort of developing relationship. It's really, really sweet. I think that this is Bill Pullman's bar none best performance in any movie ever.
Hands down, yeah.
And I love him. He's been great. I mean, I love him in Lost Highway. I love him in Independence Day.
I think he's
Spaceballs,
good in
you know.
stuff. Honestly, like we're on the record talking shit on Spaceballs, not only Spaceballs, but I actually think he's pretty good in Spaceballs.
But this is his best performance.
Absolutely, no contest.
They actually tried to make a TV series spin-off out of this, starring Alan Cumming as the Daryl Zero character. I've seen the pilot. I'm not sure it aired more. If it aired at all, it only aired once. It wasn't very good. Yeah. I am begging for sequels to this movie. It's so good. There should have been 2 or 3 more of them. If you like Knives Out, you gotta see this.
I don't know that and I don't know that this is like
it's not good in the same way.
But I don't know if this is a direct inspiration on Rian Johnson's movies.
Yeah.
But I just knowing his taste from listening to him talk, I know that Rian Johnson loves this movie. Yeah. And that you would be like, I mean, like this is closer to something like Brick almost. Yeah. Like you could do a double feature of those and it would be pretty like, oh, okay, I can see where that's coming from.
Daryl Zero and Benoit Blanc definitely have a little bit in common.
We got to get them in the room or same room together.
For sure. Kind of like we need to get the movie where John Wick and Martin Blanc from Grosse Pointe Blanc are in the movie together.
That's my dream movie.
Yeah, that would be good too. But anyway, it's also shot on location in Portland. It features a lot of really lovely scenery from that part of the country. And so if you're a Portland fan, you got to check it out too. This is a great, great movie directed by Jake Kasdan, who has gone on to do lots of different stuff, but he's the son of Lawrence Kasdan, who also wrote The Empire Strikes Back. So bring it back. Bring it back to The Empire Striking Back. Cheers to you. Zero Effect, everybody.
That's why some knowledge, some information. It's like a terminal disease. It's contagious and it's fatal.
So the other night we were all hanging out at a bar. Well, not Matt.
Well, I wasn't there.
But the other 3 of us were actually out. This movie came up, and I can't remember how it came up. I think it's because like we were talking about Sex with Sandra. The segment, not
Not the act.
Anyway, but so this movie came up, and we don't have the box art, and I was like disappointed at it. And I was like, well, you know what, I should fucking talk about it anyway. So here's the VHS tape of it, and Rich will just have to put the box art up.
I thought we had it at one point.
The box art, yeah, we did, but the box art has like been missing for a long time. The movie is Exhausted, the life of John Holmes. This documentary is basically sort of like a documentary is used very loosely here. It's a love letter kind of, almost like a Isn't He Great movie about John Holmes. So it's interviews with John Holmes talking about his philosophy and his life and stuff. And
best blowjob I've ever had. That's an easy question.
Interviews with Seika.
John Holmes has come like God.
And not really any other porn actresses, which I think is a little telling, maybe. But, you know, it's just John Holmes hanging out, and then him filming scenes, with Bob Chin, one of his regular directors. And then intercut with that are the porn scenes from the movies. So it'll cut to then, like, here's a scene. So the movie itself is about an hour and 15 minutes, and, you know, with that. And then there's on the street interviews with people and stuff.
They corrupt anybody? I don't think they would corrupt anybody unless they wanted to be corrupt. Would you possibly watch one? Why not?
The movie itself is really good. I think it's a really interesting documentary. It's sort of fascinating because it's not a documentary. And if you watch it and you're a fan like I am, like Matt is, one of our favorite movies is Boogie Nights. Yeah. And if you watch this documentary Exhausted, you'll be like, hey, there's a lot of...
well, there's the documentary
there's a lot of
in
stuff.
Boogie Nights.
Exactly. There's a documentary in Boogie Nights that Amber Waves makes about Dirk Diggler, which is sort of a parody of this. And then a lot of the porn scenes are... He just, like, stole stuff from those scenes to make this movie.
Well, like the scene in Boogie Nights where he's like, well, he lets me block my own sex scenes. I don't let him. Like, that's totally lifted from this.
It's like not quite verbatim, but almost, you know.
He allows me to block my own sex scenes. So it's a good report. No. I think there's only 2 or 3 directors that I can do that with.
So why do you do that, Bob?
Allow him to block his own sex scenes?
Right.
Well, I don't allow you to block your own sex scenes.
But, you know, he allows me to block my own sex scenes and, you know, gives me the freedom to develop the character and stuff like that. And, God, I don't know any other, you know, director who would let an actor, you know, do that, you know?
I don't allow him to block his own sex scenes.
When I lived with Matt years ago, Matt had the Boogie Nights Criterion Laserdisc, which on the Laserdisc version had a special feature, which is this movie with all of the porn scenes cut out.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes or something.
It's a half hour.
Okay.
It's like 33 minutes long, and it's PTA doing a commentary track over him like talking about this movie and like what he's took from it and what he learned from it, and it's very insightful. It's very cool. Unfortunately, they didn't port it over to any of the other Boogie Nights things. I guess either rights issues or like the New Line Cinema, whoever put it out on Blu-ray and DVD was like, we don't want to put a porn documentary on our thing or whatever. Some hero did upload it to YouTube though, so you can actually watch it, which I did rewatch today with PTA's commentary, and that's kind of the best way to watch it. You know, it's only on VHS, but I wrote down just a couple things that he said. Well, first of all, it's like, you know, pretty softball documentary about John Holmes, but it actually is kind of like, I don't want to say it makes him endearing, but it's like sort of sad because he talks about having a big dick and being like, how people made fun of like kids. You know, it's...
What happened when you were a kid and you went to the boys' locker room the first day of school?
Oh, I got razzed a lot, like pony jokes and you're bigger than my father jokes, and
so there's some opening up because I think he's just talking to a friend, and it's kind of like, oh, maybe I didn't want to, but he's talking about trying to have a love life in his real life. He talks about how like they always think, they say
it's really hard to achieve what I want sexually and mentally from a relationship from somebody who's trying to fuck a Walt Disney character, which I'm not. I'm just a human being.
And it makes you sad for John Holmes.
Well, now I'm sad for like Donald Duck though.
Donald Duck would do fine.
He would do fine. He's got a really big dick, too.
But I wrote down 2 things that PTA said. At one point, he just goes,
"This is a documentary about his dick." I mean, what the fuck is this?
That's what it is. This is a documentary about his dick. This is back when PTA was probably also on coke, and so he's like really hyper when he's talking about shit, and it's fucking great.
We talk about this a lot, and I love PTA. I love all the movies. He's still making great ones. I prefer Coke Kid PTA to Weed Dad PTA.
I do too. but Licorice Pizza, fucking masterpiece.
Great movie, yeah.
But this specific guy they keep interviewing, and he's kind of vaguely European, and then PTA just keeps going like, what does he say? He's like,
I don't know where they found this fucking guy. I don't know where he got that fucking haircut. Jesus Christ.
And he says it more than once, and he's just like, this fucking guy again.
I still don't know where they got this fucking guy, but I like this the poster behind him. I don't know, you got a glimpse of it. Champagne Orgy. Good poster. Bad fucking haircut on this guy.
And it's just fucking perfect. It's kind of one of my favorite documentaries. The PTA version where they cut out all the porn is only a half hour long, and it's an hour and 15, so that tells you how much of the movie is like, then when they go like, and now, it was made for like, people to watch and go like, oh, I'm learning about John Holmes, and also I want to watch some porn scenes. So there you go.
It is an art now. It does have a social redeeming value. It has a place in our society. It teaches. It instructs.
So, it's a
two birds, one stone.
It's a documentary, but it is very fascinating, and
it's a documentary.
It's a documentary. If you're watching this and you're the person who stole our box art, bring it back, and also fuck you.
Well, because I think he is probably one of the most courageous and dynamic entertainers in the young adult adventure field that I've ever seen.
His acting ability at all?
No, I never paid attention to his acting ability.
Right? Oh, okay. Whoa. Hear that howling? That means it's time for our dog movie.
We got a banger this week.
Yeah, we have kind of a fun one. It's The Breed.
Jan Breed.
2006, The Breed, directed by Nicholas Mastandrea, who was a one-hit wonder.
Really? This is it?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, that's a bummer.
He was like, you know what?
I'm out.
Mic drop. I did this. Mic drop. Because as I was telling you guys last time, I was like, I'm looking for a mid-2000s kind of horror slashery thing. And this delivered. This is like exactly what I wanted from it.
Mm-hmm. I was skeptical because I don't usually like this kind of thing, but this was good.
It was pretty fun.
The more I thought about it since I watched it, the more I like it.
It's not doing anything crazy or new here.
No.
But it's satisfying.
This is as they say, exactly what it says on the box.
Mm-hmm. It has Taryn Manning. It has Michelle Rodriguez.
And 3 other guys.
Oliver Hudson.
I don't know him.
Kate Hudson's brother.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice for him.
Eric Lively, who might be Blake Lively's brother. What do you guys think?
Yes. Yes.
Hill Harper is the name of the other guy.
Sure.
I'm gonna get in the plane and get the hell out.
They all go to Uncle Frank's.
They go to Uncle Frank's because the two white guys, they're brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is in veterinary school.
And one of them's a fuck up.
And one of them's just a fuck up.
3 final exams, 2 biology labs, and a term paper due in 4 days, and I let you convince me to go away for a party weekend. It's my duty as the irresponsible brother.
And they have their own seaplane that they take to Uncle Frank's Island Resort.
Uncle Frank's Island
mansion
Resort
that he lives in out on the coast somewhere on this island. What they don't know is that the island is beset by a roving pack of dogs.
Beautiful dogs. Did you see how pretty these dogs were?
They were beautiful, although there's one point where one of the dogs is killed and another one of the dogs devours its corpse and is covered in blood, and he looked really pretty covered in blood, too.
I know, it was cute.
It was nice.
So basically we're set up and it's like a typical kind of slasher where these guys are having fun. They're drinking.
Margarita 30.
They're fucking.
And the multiple orgasms.
Yeah, by yourself.
They're going out and swimming in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a great time, even though the amount of scenes where they're fiddling with like the
electricity,
the fuse box in this movie was insane. It could have been a drinking game.
It happens a lot.
I saw the fuse box in the basement.
Come on, Mr. DJ.
Oh, mine, baby.
Should I put it in?
Oh, God, yeah.
Ew.
Power keeps going in and out. It's not the nicest cabin in the world, but it's the nicest cabin on the island because they're the only ones there.
Right. Before they realize that they are about to be attacked by ravenous dogs, there's the scene where the one dude's in bed with Michelle Rodriguez, and he's like, you know, my Uncle Frank told me about how there was...
This happened after the first dog.
Oh, that's right. It's after Taryn Manning
because
gets
that's
bitten.
why it was so weird that he thought about it way later.
That's true. I forgot about that, yeah. Because Taryn Manning gets bit first.
She gets bit by just a random dog that came out of the forest.
Yeah, and now they're worried that she might have rabies.
Because at the beginning, they found a little puppy.
Oh my God.
And they're like, this puppy is so cute. It was very cute. And they're like, well, why is just a random puppy around? Let's keep him. And then the puppy runs off, and eventually the mama finds them, attacks Taryn Manning, and bites her.
Right.
And they're like, don't worry, because the guy's a vet. He's like, don't worry, you just need to get your rabies shot within a week, so we can still, like, party.
Yeah.
Even though, like, honestly, I would be like, just get me to a hospital.
And the next morning, she's just, like, ravenous, just, like, shoveling food into her mouth.
Yeah, she is. But that night is what you were about to say.
Yeah, that night, the Michelle Rodriguez and her boyfriend, the vet, are in bed together, and he's like, you know, my Uncle Frank told me this story about how there were all these dogs on a preserve out here, and then one of them got rabies, and they had to kill them all. And she's like,
That's horrible.
And then they just cuddle and fall asleep, fade out. I hope that's not relevant information.
But it's also like, why didn't you think of this before at the first mention of a crazy dog biting your friend? So Taryn Manning starts acting a little weird, and you think that's where the story's gonna go, but
yeah,
it really,
I was like, oh, is it gonna turn into like?
I was like, is she gonna turn into a dog? I literally didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She
That
just
plot
gets kind of
gets
bitchy.
dropped.
She kind of just gets kind of like mean. They start noticing more and more of these dogs around, and power goes out, phone lines go out.
Mm-hmm.
And then dude's like, well, let me tell you guys about Uncle Frank and his mysterious
dogs. You know that dog compound?
You mean the seeing eye dog facility, yeah.
Right. Well, what if they were actually training attack dogs, right?
I feel like it's at the midpoint when this movie really kicks over, though.
When they're fighting the dogs?
When they're fighting the dogs.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole thing where they have to get on a zip line and go to the house to find the car that's in the garage around the way. There's the whole gag where the dogs are attacking, and the one brother who's the fuck up, he's also a really good bow hunter. He pulls out a bow and arrow, and you're like, he's gonna get the dog.
Maddie, no!
But he ends up just shooting Michelle Rodriguez in the leg by accident. Yeah, you see it just
goes straight into her fucking leg. Oh, I yelled.
And my favorite part of the movie is when they're like, well, we have to get to the plane and we can fly out of here.
They're swimming.
There's the one guy's swimming.
Because the boat, they were like, did the dogs untie the boat from the dock?
Which they did.
They did.
Because they have an argument about, did the dogs untie it or did they just like chewing on rope?
Listen, I don't know what the hell's going on around here, but I do know that dogs can't think like that. They can't plan. If a dog chews through a rope, it's because dogs like chewing rope.
Yeah. And I was like, fair. Like, you don't know.
But there's a great moment where the one brother with the bow and arrow, he's swimming out to the plane, and the plane is sort of loose, and it slowly rotates, and there are these dogs just sitting on the wings.
And they're just sitting waiting. It's so badass.
It looks amazing. That made me really wish that this movie had been, not to mention this again, more like Bingo, where it was the same exact movie except the dogs were literally cutting the phone lines and stealing the car, floating the boat away.
Actively scheming against
That would have been
people.
like one of them's got a gun.
When they're swimming back to the dock, you see the dogs doggy paddling after them, like chasing them, but doggy paddling, but like
It's
really
way too
fast.
cute. Yeah.
Adorable, but very unrealistic.
Hard to buy as scary.
Every time the dogs weren't on screen, I kept forgetting it was a dog movie because it's such a
There's not
has
a lot
such
of dog
slasher
stuff.
sensibilities,
Yeah.
and the deaths are actually
They're more slashery.
They're more slashery. For example, well, I mean, it's not a death, but we get the arrow through the leg. We get at one point
somebody falls on a big spike.
Yeah, we drop the Taryn Manning having rabies for a while until the end where she's telling everyone to leave so that she can fight the main bad dog.
No.
Get out of here.
No.
Come
not gonna make it.
I don't care. Let's go.
I don't care.
Get up.
No. Get out of my house.
And she gets kind of ferocious, tackles the dog, and then they both like impale themselves on a spike.
Yeah.
Which is very 2006.
There's a scene where the dogs chase their car.
And then the dog is hanging out the window and he gets hereditary.
Yeah, he gets hereditary. That was gnarly.
That was crazy.
There's a really funny bit too, because like he's fighting the dog, and it's out the passenger side window, and the brother who's driving is like, hold on to it, and then he plows it into this like thing on the side of the road, and you hear it go. Arf! It like makes a cartoon movie yelp.
Yeah, the one thing about all the dog death in this is that we never take a pause to get to know these dogs. These dogs have no personalities. We're not on their side. They're not characters, which is why this is a different kind of dog movie than sometimes we normally do.
Still, I hate watching the dogs get killed.
That's what made it a little easier for me to be like, that dog just got fucking murdered or whatever. It's because we weren't put on their stage.
They are the bad guys.
Yeah. How does it end? How does it end again?
The two brothers get away with Michelle Rodriguez. They find Uncle Frank's secret laboratory, where it turns out there wasn't just rabid dogs. They were doing DNA genetic experimentation on the dogs to make them super dogs.
They were an Army combat mountain training cohort.
Yes. They were manipulating their DNA to make them more mean.
Like soldiers, like dog soldiers.
Dog soldiers.
They went ahead with the project, beyond all limits.
What was it leading to?
A loss of the human affection response, which means the animals actually began to hate human beings.
So then there's a big showdown in the compound, and Michelle Rodriguez blows up the compound, and you think she's dead for a second, but then she comes back.
I don't see how she wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, she makes it though. She just shows up.
Because there's like the gas and the fire, and she like opens the door as the dog's running at her, explodes everything.
Give Cujo my best.
But she doesn't get all of them. They still have to get away. But they just get the car started and they get on the boat.
They get off that fucking island.
There's a boat. Because at the beginning of the movie, this couple on a boat ends up on the island first and they get killed. And then that's sort of a prologue. And then they get off the island. And the two brothers have both been bitten. And they're like, do we have rabies? We'll just have to find out.
And we don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of like the thing ending.
What do you think is going to happen to you guys?
I had fun with this. I'm glad this wasn't a total fucking
No, I was
flop.
super into it.
It was really fun to watch.
I was kind of dreading it. I was like, one of these. And then like by the time it was over, I was texting him like, this was great.
Yeah, this was like a welcome surprise.
Yeah.
How many paws would you give this one?
I don't know if it's good enough for 3.5 paws, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough for 3.5 paws. Certainly the first half is 3, the second half is 3.5.
Yeah, I'll give it just 3, a solid 3 paw.
Yeah, solid 3 paws.
And you know, dogs with only 3 paws, they can run really fast.
I know. I love a 3-legged dog.
My family has a 3-legged dog at home, Doug, and he's really fast. So
Doug is a great name.
Shout out to Doug. Our next dog movie, you know what it is, but it's a surprise to me because we had our special guest pick it out.
Oh yeah, here you go. I picked you guys a real classic from 2001.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, yes. Cats and dogs.
I saw this in the theater.
Me too.
You've seen this before?
I saw it in theaters.
I didn't hate it.
I don't remember it at all.
I can also say I don't remember it at all, but I remember going to see it and going like, yeah, this had some funny parts. It's probably very bad.
Oh, this is going to be funny.
How long is it?
You're like already how long? It's probably
87 minutes.
Oh,
okay.
Perfect.
It's been on the list for a while.
It's been on the list for a while. Thank you, Kevin.
This is written by the Crazy Stupid Love guys, and they've done like a lot of like they did that Ewan McGregor Jim Carrey movie where they're like lovers.
Oh, Chuck and Larry.
Glenn Ficarra and John Requa. They've done a ton of stuff. No, Chuck and Larry is Adam Sandler and
it's a Jim Carrey. And
I forget what the name of it is, but like there's like one of them's a con artist and he's in prison and stuff. Anyway.
Love You, Philip Morris.
That's the one.
Oh, Chuck and Larry.
I now pronounce you cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. I'm excited, so stay tuned.
Woof.
All right, we did it. Episode 54 in the can.
We found you, Miss New Booty.
Get it right, get it tight. Get it together and bring it back to me.
Bring it back to me. Episode 54 is done. And what an episode it was.
It was a terrific episode. One of our best.
I think it was really solid.
They're getting better all the time.
So close to episode 100. I could taste it.
Oof. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Send us your mailbags, viva@scarecrow.com, or write us an actual letter or like a postcard or something at
5030 Roosevelt Way, Seattle, Washington. Roosevelt Northeast, Seattle, Washington, 98105.
You can stop by the store too and drop stuff off, or just like browse around. This place is pretty cool. If you're thinking about making a trip, you should definitely do that. But if you are too far away to make a trip, we also do rent by mail, which you can find out more info on our website.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to those 1,000 followers.
Yeah, I think we don't need that much more for 1,000 on YouTube. So tell all your friends and family, give us shout outs on your social medias and comment below.
At E. Soderback, at Colonel Mortimer, at Physical Viva.
Yeah. And I think that's about it.
Listen to our podcast, The Suspense is Killing Us.
Yeah. Listen to that. It's pretty good.
It's pretty fucking good.
Until next time, Viva
Physical Media.
Physical Media. And goodbye. Cheers.
Vintage.